Welcome everybody to the latest episode of Money, Life and Gags with Harry, Mark, and we have a special guest today, Helen. Welcome, Helen.
Hi.
So Helen's comes from Your Holiday travel agency, and so today's theme is going to be heavily involved or heavily go deep into travel hacks. How do we use those frequent flyer points? How do we get cheap flights? All that sort of stuff, and wherever this conversation takes us. So
Perhaps we can get Helen to talk about how we can effectively travel cheaply around Europe and the different types of the destinations that are available. So, Helen, off to you.
Of course. So Helen is my name, as you all know. Your Holidays is the company that I have established in 2008. So it's heading into the 17 years this year. Was very proud. Yes, and we do specialize in luxury travel at somewhat the best price we could get for our clients instead of paying, like you said, after COVID, it's an arm and a leg. Before COVID, we could get Etihad, Emirates, Qatar, say 7.5, 8,000 to Europe. Unfortunately, after COVID, it has skyrocketed to over 12, 13, 14,000 and sometimes even 16,000. Therefore, we then look at airlines that can still give us good deals, good value, and still give you the luxury of business class, flatbed, lounge access, and seat selections. And that's when Oman Air came in. Oman Air is an off airline and they don't fly into Australia. Therefore, they partner up with, let's say, Malaysia Airlines or Qantas, even Thai Airways, and many others. And what you will have to do is from Australia onto Asia with one of those carriers. And then from there, you go to Muscat. And yes, not many people have heard of Muscat in Oman. It has opened up to Australian market, I would say, in the last couple of years, just because of the very attractive prices. And then, of course, after Oman, you can choose to go into one of the European destinations, which is growing. At present, they do fly into Istanbul, which is one that you went to, Harry, Milan, Rome, Paris, Frankfurt, Munich, London, and Zurich. Occasionally, we call it seasonal when it's peak season for Zurich skiing, for example. They are growing their network, and just recently they've announced Amsterdam as well. So it is a true 5-star carrier, and Harry, you experienced it. Complete flatbeds, every single seat have your own aisle exit without having to climb over anyone. So yes.
and so when you do the legs, are you still in business class from Australia to Oman when you go with Malaysia Airlines or whatever it might be with?
Yes, it is still in business class. So they do have a couple of deals at the moment. We call it smart way of traveling for those that don't want to pay more. They can do what we call a mixed class as well. But yes, they do have true business class for their fare, but you can also opt for a mixed class fare where you can go. At the moment, it's, let's say, Sydney to Jakarta with Garuda in economy because it's a short flight. And then from Jakarta onto Muscat onto Europe, that would be the business class. So, and by doing that, you'll save a bit of money for those that don't mind doing short haul in economy. So that's a little saving.
Yeah, that's good. And so their pricing is a promotional pricing to get market share, or is it because they use connecting, working with other airlines to get you to?
I would definitely say market share and also to get the attentions from Australia as well. They can't come into Australia. Well, actually, they don't even fly to Australia. They partner up with those carriers. But in order to get attraction from our Australian market, they need to be competitive to promote who they are first before they can obviously go higher in price. And I'm sure they will eventually, but for now, they're keeping it low for us.
Milk it for all it's worth, eh?
Yeah.
It's interesting, Mark, when Helen talks about the main carriers charging anything from $12,000, $14,000, $15,000. And, I'm pretty happy to disclose what I'm flying this year. I'm going all the way business class to Milan. And I think it was a tad just under $6,000. So it's not a 10 or 20% saving.
Massive.
It's like 50% saving. And My benefit has been using a money or actually picking Helen's brain. Um, I had I didn't necessarily want to go to Italy. I mean, I went to Milan last year. I mean, I loved it so much, and I'm taking my son Lee this year. I'm going again to Milan. So it's allowed me to look at other countries as well for flying business class. And I think the year before, Helen, or prior to that year, I got to Athens via Frankfurt. And yeah, that's right. Vietnam, we used Vietnam Airlines at that point in time, and again, business class all the way. I think it was again under $6,000, and I spent 3 or 4 days with my partner at Frankfurt. I would never have done Frankfurt. So it's given me a choice of looking at other countries and all the way to Athens. Sorry, all the way to Germany, or whether it's to Milan. I've been flying business class, so it's been an absolute cracker in terms of flying around the world, or especially in Europe, and going in business class.
And are these deals available in other jurisdictions, Helen? So, like, if you wanted to go to Southeast Asia, or you wanted to go to, America or Canada, are there similar type deals with these types of airlines, or is it mainly Europe orientated?
So with Oman, it's definitely Europe only. We do look out for specials to the US. They are a way to get around. Again, Qantas, when they have a sale like today, they've just put out a special to Los Angeles for about 7,500, for example.
Yeah.
And if it's special, it would be around the 13 to about 16 grand once again. So we do tend to look out for special. We will take the list of clients wanting to go to the US. Depending on whether if it's just Los Angeles or San Francisco, then obviously we'll try and stick to more direct like Air New Zealand, United, Delta, and Qantas. Air New Zealand, of course, will go via Auckland, but their price can be quite competitive. But for those that wanting to go more towards New York, Chicago, it requires minimum one transit either in Los Angeles or somewhere else. And when we look at New York, we say, okay, well, there's All Nippon going via Tokyo. There's Cathay Pacific via Hong Kong and Asiana via Seoul, for example. By shifting it to those carriers, I'll give you an example. Sydney, New York with Qantas, if it's not on sale, 13, 14,000. On All Nippon, it's about 7,000.
Oh, wow.
It goes via Tokyo. So we would say to client, if you're happy to go Sydney, Tokyo, Tokyo to New York, you will pay about 7,500. And you don't have to clear custom in Los Angeles. That's the beauty. Where with Qantas, you have to go Sydney, Los Angeles, pick up your bag, clear custom, and wait in line for 2 hours, recheck back in for your domestic flight. All Nippon, on the other hand, will check all the way through to New York. You get to New York, you clear custom, and off you go. That's the beauty about it. So you get more time in the business class lounge, much better pricing. And we have seen the shift in clients looking at fares to New York. Australian has been quite loyal to Qantas.
Mm.
It's the pricing that kills it. And then passengers are now getting smarter, and they said, why should I pay that sort of price when there are other prices out there for half the price? And beauty of not clearing custom in Los Angeles.
It's like a travel hack to me. That so
Yeah.
and when you do, say you did Tokyo, New York, or Los Angeles, is it easy to stay in Tokyo for a period of time as part of that connecting flight, or do you just have to transition through and
You can transit or you can stop over. Some take advantage of it and do a stopover. And they, like I
cost
said,
for the flight though?
the same.
The same, right? Okay.
Sometimes it's actually better to do a stopover because when you try to through sell it all the way to New York, seats might not be available. But the minute you break it up and say, okay, I'll do 2 days, and that's when we will say, okay, if you can go on this day, 2 days stop or 3 days stop, it gives you the lower booking class fare in business. And that's how we can achieve the cheaper fare.
Wow.
And you also get to experience another country too on
Yes. So,
Yeah.
as an example, if you just went to Tokyo, what and in business class, what would that flight cost you?
about $5,000.
Yeah, so
That's
at the
off
point you wouldn't
on.
get across to the States.
That's right. So even, for example, Qantas to Tokyo, if it's on high season, you're paying 8,000 to 9,000 just to Tokyo. Yep. So where with All Nippon, if you book early and you have your dates early and pre-book all that, you can get it for around the 4,500 to 5,000. But tagging along the US, it's not much more. Yeah.
That's crazy. And the time of year, how relevant is the time of year? So if I wanted to go at Christmas, for example, and go
Mm.
over to the States over the Christmas holidays we have here, the sort
Yep.
of rates you're talking about, would I get it for that time period, or is there?
Well, yeah, you book early in advance, and because how airlines works is they will release certain number of seats on the discounted fare.
Okay.
First in is dressed sort of thing. So again, if you're flexible, you'll try to pick middays instead of weekend, for example. That would obviously gives you more availability because everyone try to go on a Friday or Saturday weekend. But if you can do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday sometime, you will see more availability as well.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mark, I also have to mention that last year when finally I stayed in Muscat for I think it was 3 days or 4 days. I said to Helen, "So where do I stay?" She gave me two options, and one of them was called Kempinski. I think you mentioned.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
So I've heard of Kempinski. Oh mate, I gotta tell ya, this one in Muscat, I thought I was some sort of a king. The aura of this place, and telling you, this wasn't 5-star, this was like 10-star. And Helen, it was so cheap to stay at the Kempinski. I think I paid, was it $270 or $280 for the night? We're talking AUD now. And Mark, I got to tell you, this place was out of this world.
What was it sounds like in Muscat where you stayed? Like, I've never been, so I don't know much about Oman, but what was it like outside of the accommodation?
Oh, look, so I actually, and this is where I think you need a travel agent. These are the sort of things that I don't think the internet can do. I mean, you can read reviews, and I guess sometimes you got to find out whether these reviews are good for you. Some are good, and some are bad. And that was the same question that I asked Helen. I think it was last year. Like I said, where do I go for 3 days? And she said to me, you need to go see the mosque. Now, I've never been to a mosque. The size of this thing, Mark, it's as big as the MCG. It was
Jeez.
wow. And I hung around there like usually people go there on tours for about 45 minutes. I was hanging around there for about 3 hours. I was just going from one place to the other. So it was foreign to me. It was new. Um, I did a couple of their markets in Muscat, but again, the ability to travel, stay at a different place for 2 or 3 days, and at the end of the day, it's an experience. And then you just jump on the aeroplane again, and I ended up in Milan, and Milan was another pleasant surprise for myself. So this is where I think using someone like Helen, it kind of opens up your mind, because if I need to get to a destination, and if I have to stop at a couple of places, I want to make it worthwhile. And this is what people can help, what travel agents can do for you, just to open up your mind and go through new experiences.
No, sounds
Yeah.
sounds fantastic. And these destinations, Helen, have you been to them? Like, have you traveled the world to know when people like Harry ask you questions? Go to the mosque. Have you been to the mosque? You know, like, is that are you well traveled?
I have to say, yes, I'm well traveled, but Muscat I haven't been because it is quite new to the Australian market. I've been to Abu Dhabi a couple of times and Dubai, of course, with Emirates and Etihad. And I would love to, and I really do want to go to Muscat if I have the chance to, and hopefully in the next year or two. But it's not an easy place to get to unless you are obviously go on to Europe, for example, do it as a stopover. Muscat itself, I obviously hear reviews from Harry, from other clients, and the reason we recommend Kempinski, on top of that, there's many more other hotels as well, but Kempinski is one, and Chedai is another one that does it really well. And for the quality that they offer and the value that you get in it, is amazing. So let's say Kempinski, if you were to do Kempinski in Europe, easily 1,500 per night, easily. With Muscat, because what many people know of, and no one really go there yet. That's why all the hotels, luxury 5-star, $500 is what you can get. And Kempinski, if you go on the low season, 200, 280, including breakfast. Why not? But I actually had a client that stopped in Muscat, and it was a lady. She used to work for Qantas. She's a Qantas cabin crew. Refused to fly with Qantas because of the price. I won't name her, but she tried Oman and she said it was amazing. And with the stopover, she did also 3 days. And she said now that she's in love with it, she's going back to visit Muscat on its own.
Wow.
I'd
Great.
go out of Muscat and do Oman itself, the whole country. And I asked her, okay, you're blonde. How do you feel being by yourself in obviously a Muslim country? And she said to me, she have never felt so safe. That just by herself, walk around, talk to local women, and perfectly fine. She said it was perfect. She fell in love with it, and she said she'll go again, and she's going again.
Fantastic.
So yeah. So obviously, as a travel agent, I do try to travel a lot to experience it. Go on airlines, aircraft inspection. If I can't fly with them, I'll go on their aircraft to inspect the aircraft, and then that's how I can sell it back to clients based on feedback and also personal experience.
And I'm guessing you'd have some perks that goes with that. So, like, if you're just testing out a new airline, say this Oman concept and whatnot, would they offer you a better deal if it's part of that educational phase for you, or do you just have to pay standard rates?
So if we go on an aircraft inspection, it's free because we just go into the airport, look at the aircraft and get off. So there's nothing in there except for us learning without having to fly anywhere. But occasionally, airlines do throw out what we call travel agent for meal to showcase their aircraft, the destination that they're flying to. So a few years just before COVID, for example, Qatar put on a new destination, which is Thessaloniki. And they flew us to Thessaloniki via Doha, did a stopover in Doha, showed the city to us, and then, of course, showcase Thessaloniki. And then at the same time, we get to see the aircraft as well. So that normally comes for free. But if we were to book our own ticket as a travel agent, it's pretty much full price.
Full price. Okay, fair enough.
I have heard airline staff do get discounted. But after COVID, I mean, now it's much easier, but just after COVID, when everyone was rushing to get out of the country, the staff themselves go on what we call a standby. They get it for cheap, but they go on a standby. They'll sit at the airport, and if seats is available, they get on at a discounted price. But just after COVID, because of the rush, they could not get on. So I even pilots come to us and say, Helen, please book me a ticket because I can't go on a standby. And that would be, airline staff itself. And that's how I obviously book for quite a few good pilots. And we become good friends now. And, they're back at work. But yeah, they couldn't go on that standby. Now it's getting better. So you'll see, obviously, airline staff get discounted. And I've heard 50%, 75%. But as an agent, we don't get that. No.